Hello, it is Dana of Madam Mac Jewellery. I am filming my first YouTube video. It is all very novice here in the background, so I hope I've done a good job in setting everything up. Of course, we always have to start somewhere instead of procrastinating and waiting for the right time to have all the correct equipment. Anyhow, without further ado, my name is Dana. I'm from Melbourne, Australia, and I am a wax carving enthusiast. I have been carving for several years out of jeweler's carving wax, and I am obsessed with it. So if you are curious about the technique or what's involved and what tools you'll need for the setup, stick around and I will take you through the basics that you'll need to get started. First things first, you will require some wax. Most people start with rings when they start carving because you'll find that there are tubes of wax ready to go from your supplier. This is stocked at all jewellery suppliers. And what's great about these is they all come in different shape profiles. So I'll just take you through the ones that I commonly use. You will be able to pick up some flat top tubes. They're excellent for when you're making signet rings. This is the thickest one on the right. So if you've got a really big ring that you'd like to make or something that's a big size, I usually prefer to start with this one, and anything that is less chunky and smaller in finger size, this is my go-to. And then I also have two round shape tubes that I like using. I'll pop them side by side. So the one on the right is just your average stacking band type of tube, and the one to the left has an off-centered hole. So this one is particularly great if you're looking at making dome rings or a design that has more thickness to the top of it. You will need a saw blade mounted in a saw frame. So this is just the budget saw frame that I use. You don't need anything elaborate. And it is loaded up here with a wax saw blade. It might be difficult for you to see, but what it is it's a spiral type saw blade, a little different to your metalsmithing blades. They actually have a spiral going all the way down them, and the spiral has little teeth that cut into your wax. So I'll try and give you a bit of a close-up. Might be a little bit difficult, so I might just get a loose one to show you in the next step. So this is a loose wax saw blade, and I'm just going to rotate that for you just so that you can get an idea of what I mean when I say it's a spiral saw blade. So this is great for cutting into waxes. The next thing you'll need to make your job more efficient is a wax reaming mandrel. There are different types on the market. This is the entry-level one. It is a wooden mandrel that has a single blade, and that is used to ream out the internal diameter of your ring to increase the size of your ring. I do apologize, the sticker that indicates the sizes has fallen off mine because I used it way too much and it peeled off. So the only disadvantage of using one of these is, although the blade is sharp enough to do the job, it can actually leave little dents on the inside of your ring and little marks from the blade. So what you can do if you do eventually want to invest in better tools is to pick up a wax reaming mandrel such as this one. So this one has 6 blades that run down the full length of the mandrel. And the benefit of this is that it's actually more ergonomic for your hands, and it does the job more efficiently with sizing your ring on the mandrel. So it is super sharp. You do have to exercise a little bit more caution. The benefit of this is that it doesn't leave any strange marks or stubborn marks on the inside of your ring shank. So there'll be less filing and tidying involved with your designs. The next thing you'll need to pick up, just to make sure that you are on the right track with your sizing, is a regular ring sizing stick. So you'll be able to pick one of these up at any of your jewelry suppliers, but it has the number, which is the American system, and it also has the letter, which is commonly used in the Australian and the UK system. And it also has the European numbers to the other side. So the whole idea is that once you've carved your ring blank out, you need to make sure that it's running at the same size when you thread it through both ways. That way you've got a uniform ring and it doesn't have a different internal diameter on each side of your shank. So one of the things you also might like to pick up is the Max Wax battery operated pen for waxworking. So I'll just take the lid off. What it has is this tip at the end. It is battery operated, this device, and it heats up when you press that button. So this is really good if you need to execute a repair on any of your designs, or even if you'd like to add some extra features to your waxes, such as granules. So the advantage of it is that it's small, it can be stored away, but the disadvantage in the long term is that the batteries can run out really quickly if you are going to be using it a lot. So I ended up upgrading once I was certain that I wanted to wax carve to make a living. I ended up upgrading to a soldering unit, which is just in the back here. I will bring it forward to show you what it is. So what it is a soldering unit. I will just show you the front face of it first. This is the Duratec 10 watt mini soldering unit. I purchased this from Jaycar in Australia for about $40 odd thereabouts. The benefit of this relative to the wax working pen that I just showed you is that it has an adjustable temperature dial, which means you can use it for a variety of different waxes. So it's important to note that all of the different colored waxes that you've probably seen people using have different working properties. So you may be able to adjust the temperature and utilize that feature to your advantage. It has a connection to a soldering tip. So this is the pen that it comes with. I'll just unravel it for you. So it's not on at the moment, so I can touch it, but it has this soldering tip, and once the heat runs through it, you can use that for all of your wax applications. So I use this for resizing, for adding features, etc. So I'll just pop that over to the back and get those horrible cords out of the way. The next thing you'll want to do, particularly if you are looking at doing really uniform symmetrical designs, is you'll want to pick up some bow compass or dividers, they're also known as. So these are great for measuring and marking on your waxes. You will need to use that typically in conjunction with the ruler if you really want to be precise when you're carving. Alternatively, what you can do is you can pick up, for a little bit more in price, some digital calipers. So these are really nifty because obviously they're more precise, but make sure that you're always going to set them to 0 and that you're looking at the correct units before you start using them. They can be a little bit difficult to maneuver when you are making your markings, but they give you a bit more of a precise indication of your measurement. Big price difference between these two, but either or, they should do the trick for your wax carving purposes. Next up is having a permanent marker on hand. This is great if you are wanting to sketch out your design around your ring tube before you start carving the pattern out. Alternatively to that, if you do prefer something a bit more permanent than a permanent marker, you can actually pick up a scribe that has a very sharp point at the end. This is just a tungsten carbide scribe, and I use that to make indentations and draw my design out directly on the wax tube. So you can scribe quite deeply in your waxes because you'll find a lot of the time you'll be filing away all of those marks. but it's always great to mark your design out so that you have an indication of where you're going. It can go a little bit skew-if once you get in there with your tools and your files. So that's one of the most versatile tools at the bench. You might want to grab a little brush just to dust the wax off your design as you're working through it. Not so much with your plain type of designs, but if you've got stone settings that you need to tidy before you keep carving, you can just brush all of the extra fluff out of that setting. In the event you need to resize any of your waxes, you can do that before you send them for casting. So load up a scalpel handle with a nice sharp scalpel blade, and you'll be able to resize your rings and have the cuts very nice and clean before you resize. You will need to also pick up a double-ended wax file. So this is my most used tool at the wax carving bench. You'll see that along this side it's completely flat, and there's a smooth and a coarse side. You can see the drastic difference in teeth size and spacing there. And the benefit is that when you flip it around the other way, this is the half round side. So you've got your smooth and your coarse there. And you'll find that you'll use that for a lot of the applications in wax carving. I use this for most of my designs about 70% of the time before I actually end up moving to my precision carvers. So you might also, depending on what you're carving, want to pick up some needle files for wax. These are a little bit different to the diamond needle files you'll find that metalsmiths commonly use, in the sense that they've got larger teeth and they are more spaced apart as well. In a lot of cases, I don't actually use these diamond needle files because I find that the teeth can catch quite badly and they end up scratching the surface more and creating more work for me to file away with filing and emery paper. So I usually avoid these, but it's a good place to start if you, for instance, don't have one of the large wax working files. So if you are looking at getting started, you can go with either or, but I highly recommend the large wax file because you'll find it more useful than these guys. Okay, I'm going to make a little bit of noise just as I place all of these tools down, but I'm trying to work in some kind of logical order. The next thing you'll need to pick up are some stainless steel dental carvers. So dentists and wax carvers use very, very similar tools in their trades, and you'll note that each of them have a different type of head and shape on them. I will admit that depending on the pack you end up getting, some of them aren't that great or that sharp, but you can actually sharpen some of these and give them a better profile on a sharpening block, similar to the ones that engravers use to sharpen their gravers. So the benefit of using these stainless steel carvers is that they can actually be heated up over a tea light candle or an alcohol spirit lamp. And when they're hot, you can use them to manipulate the wax to add texture to it, which is really, really nice. So you might find one in your packet that you end up gravitating towards. I have a couple that I really, really like, which I will just show you now. A little bit more noise. So this one is one of my favorite ones. You can see it's a spear type shape and it's got blades to either side. Now it's not super sharp, but it actually does the job. You can see it's got a beveled edge right there, which I use in a shaving or scraping type of motion to get the surfaces of my waxes looking really, really neat. And then there's this one that I really like. It has been clearly overused, as you can see, but it's a tiny little paddle which I like using to apply organic textures to a lot of my designs and to scoop up wax, etc. So if you're going for a design that's really, really tidy, or just in general with any wax work, my mantra is the more tidy your wax work is, the better your casting will come out. once it's been cast in your metal of choice. So I usually work my waxes after I've completed the design using some emery or filing paper. So this is just your standard wet dry, but I use it dry on the surface of my waxes, and I'll use anything between 600, which is more coarse, and 1500, which is more fine. Now, a lot of people finish their waxes to 1500, but I think if you do a good enough job with 600 or 800, that you don't necessarily need to follow up with anything that's more fine. So this will be one of your best tools at the bench, even though it's not really a tool, it's more of a consumable, but you get the idea. Next up, I haven't got my alcohol spirit lamp with me because I'm absolutely terrified of them. But if I'm ever using heat to apply textures, I usually just opt for a tea light candle on a dish and some matches, of course, to light it. Make sure if you're filming or doing anything near a camera that that's not directly below you, speaking from experience here, because you'll start to melt all of your things and you will not be happy if that happens. So, one more thing that you might want to pick up if you're looking at not carving rings and getting into pendants or earrings is some wax blocks. So this is Ferris wax. Ferris is the brand name. There are a few different leading manufacturers of waxes, but they're all very much more or less similar. So you can carve out big settings or figurines or components from these big blocks. So you can buy the big blocks that need to be sliced up accordingly to your specs, or you can buy them pre-sliced in thinner and thicker slices. If you end up delving into wax working on a more serious note, these are my favorite carvers that I have. They are by Kate Wolf. They are the Wax Precision carvers. I'll just hold them up to you so you can get a better idea of just how sharp they are. They are the golden standard when it comes to wax carving, and they're so beautiful to hold. They've got this lovely wooden handle. However, please note, if you do end up eventually investing in these, you do not want to be heating the steel, the tool steel over a candle or a heat source, because it will actually damage them, and you'll be pretty sad because they're not the cheapest tool on the shelf. But they are super, super sharp. They get into tiny places. So if you've got a really elaborate design that's got a lot of winds and whirls and swirls, these are excellent for carving. And because I couldn't help myself, I ended up buying the Kate Wolf macro carvers over here in the background, which I'm just trying to grab. So the macro carvers have a much longer handle, and the kit is also bigger, as well as the heads on each of the tools. But I love these carvers, and of course you'll find a couple that you gravitate towards. But what Kate does provide is a little booklet and this color coding system that indicates what should be used for what particular application. So it's a really good guide when you are delving into wax carving a little bit more. I will show you my favorites from this pile while I am here. I'll just take them out one at a time. So this is number 15, which I really, really like for carving stone settings. So bezel settings and flat back cabochon settings. I also really like using number 7. Oop, see, they're so sharp that if you do accidentally poke yourself, you will start to bleed, and that kind of hurt. Anyhow, I'm not editing my videos, so you'll just get what you're given. Right, so number 7 is also one of my favorites. You can see at the end, it's got a really nice sharp blade, and it's also sharp on the underside as well. So I use this in a scraping type of motion, almost like a potato peeler, to get the surface of my waxes really, really neat and tidy. Oh goodness, I think I might need a Band-Aid after this video. Right, note to self, do not pick up the whole packet at once because they will hurt you. Anyhow, this one is also great. It's got a spear shape at the end, and that's really cool if you're looking at making textures in your wax or little triangular shapes or sharp facets. It's almost like an engraver, but for wax, which is pretty cool. And last but not least, I also like, oh, let me try find it. Okay, here we go. I will pop the rest away after this in a moment, but a bit more noise. This is number 3, which is very similar to number 7. You can see it's got that lovely sharp blade towards the end and along that length. Very similar to number 7. This one's obviously a bit finer, so it can get into tighter places. I hope you have enjoyed this. If you are looking at getting into wax carving, please send me a message because I do offer a variety of wax carving courses. Thank you so much for the love. Please feel free to follow me on Instagram, where I give away a whole lot of free tips and tricks as well. And we will chat soon. I appreciate you being here, and stick around for more because there's more on the way. Thank you.